Hello again. So it's been a little while since my last video. That's because I've been away in France, which was lovely. But I spent 4 days in France, so I wasn't able to do any videos. But however, some records have arrived in the meantime, which I just wanted to share with you. I'm going to do a little video about those, and I'm going to end with a couple of tips which certainly have worked for me in terms of my sound setup, which may work for you. And it certainly allowed me to listen to my records in an even more enjoyable way. So that's something that might interest you. I'll add it to the end of this video. I won't do a separate one because they don't tend to get an awful lot of views, but as I say, it certainly has worked for me. It may work for you. So I was looking at a video by Michael at the Ingroove, Mike at the Ingroove, and he was saying that the Legrand Jazz album is back in stock. They're numbered. Get them whilst they're available because they're not going to be available for very long. So I got it. I bought it from MCRU in the UK, and I've got to tell you, it is absolutely, well, I've not played it yet, but the package is absolutely gorgeous. So it's Michel Legrand with 31 of America's greatest jazzmen, including Miles Davis. Who else is on there? I shall tell you. John Coltrane, Bill Evans, Herbie Mann, Ben Webster, Phil Woods, Paul Chambers, Hank Jones, Kenny Dennis, Art Farmer, Donald Byrd, and on and on and on. Oh, and Major Holly there. He was the bass player on Midnight Blue, which I reviewed in my last video. So it's a beautiful package. This one's numbered 2,280 out of 3,000. I can't wait to play it. Fabulous, fabulous package, double album. And it's a list of standards by the looks of it. So you have the Jitterbug Waltz by Fats Waller, Nuage by Django Reinhardt, Night in Tunisia by Dizzy Gillespie, Blue and Sentimental by Count Basie, Stomping at the Savoy by Benny Goodman, Django by John Lewis, Wild Man Blues, Jelly Roll Morton, Rosetta by Earl Hines, Round Midnight by Thelonious Monk, Don't Get Around Much Anymore by Duke Ellington, and In a Mist by Bix Beiderbecke. So some real jazz standards there. Can't wait to play this. It's on Michael. It's one of Michael Framer's 100 all analog albums you must own. Which, if you haven't seen, that's a 2-hour video on YouTube. I highly recommend you watch it because he really does go in and he always tells great stories. I do like Michael Framer. He's always got a story about something. And he's quite funny, but he goes into pretty good detail about 100 albums, all analog, that he recommends, and that's one of them. And this is one of them too, the Harry Belafonte live at Carnegie Hall. So I've been meaning to get this, been finding it a bit tricky to find, but it happened to be on the MCRU website. So I picked that one up as well, and wouldn't you believe, when I was in France, I was in a little town not far from where I was staying, and there was an art gallery there, and the lady who owned the art gallery happened to have a turntable playing, and I didn't notice this until I kind of walked past and just caught sight of it as I was walking past the window. So I kind of went in there, and it was a beautiful turntable. It's a clear audio, high-end clear audio, all acrylic turntable, and she was running a moving coil cartridge on it, and it was beautiful. And she had it all set up with a pair of speakers that her ex-boyfriend had made her, and they sounded fantastic. Had gold tweeters with beautifully made speakers. And she had a record collection, so I said, do you mind if I have a look through? I'm just quite interested in what you have. And lo and behold, she had this one, and I was like, oh my god, I've just ordered that. So that was a coincidence. So she very kindly played a couple of tracks. Just sounded amazing. She had the original Belafonte at Carnegie Hall. So yeah, can't wait to listen to that. So I've not listened to these two yet, but I have listened to these on the middle row here, except Grant Green. So I've listened to 80s Delight, One Flight Up by Dexter Gordon. At the moment I'm listening to Herbie Hancock's Taking Off. Now, Taking Off, 80s Delight, and Grant's First Stand, they are all from the Blue Note 80s series. The Blue Note 80s series is what then became kind of the Classic series. Classic series is, as you know, Blue Note's AAA titles. Before that, there was the 80s series. Before that, there was the 75th series. The 75th series kind of gets a bit of stick because that's all digitally mastered, whereas the 80s series and the classic series are analog remasters by Kevin Gray. And I have to say that 80s Delight is just that. It's an absolute delight to listen to. It's fantastic. I'm very, very impressed, as I am with Taken Off by Herbie Hancock. It's a fantastic sounding record. I bought the Grant Green one because Babyface Willette is on the organ, and those of you who collect tone poets will know that that one of the tone poets recently was Babyface Willette's Face to Face. He didn't make a great deal of albums for Blue Note, I think possibly one or two, but he features on this one, so that was kind of the reason I bought it, because I quite liked his album and I really liked his style of organ playing, quite different to Jimmy Smith's. So yeah, so I haven't listened to that one yet, but I have been listening to One Flight Up by Dexter Gordon, which I have to say is absolutely wonderful to listen to. That is a beautifully recorded, fantastic remaster, and it just sounds amazing. Who's on it? Donald Byrd, Kenny Drew, Art Taylor, and I can never pronounce his surname. Niels Henning, and the rest of it is blocked by the sticker. I can't remember his name, but he's the bass player. So that was recorded in 1965, and it's a tremendous recording. There's only 3 tracks on the album. In fact, side 1 is just one long track, but it's a wonderful, mesmeric, beautifully melodic track. It really is lovely. And so yeah, so the 80s series I'm very impressed with. I might get a few more of those. And the Tone Poets, they just keep knocking it out of the park with the Tone Poets. So if you haven't got this one already, I highly recommend it. I wasn't going to get it, only I watched a YouTube video by somebody who was recommending their top, I can't remember how many it was, 15 Blue Notes, and that was one of them, and they played a little bit of it, and I kind of thought, well, that sounds quite nice, I might give that a go. So I did. Anyway, I highly recommend it. So yeah, so I shall get around to listening to the Belafonte, the Legrand Jazz, and the Grant Green. But if you haven't bought any of the albums from Blue Note's 80s series, I highly recommend them. From what I've heard so far, really, really tremendous. Sound every bit as good as the classic series so far, and you know, they're not expensive. You can pick them up for $20, maybe between $20 and $23, and they're available. They're available. That's the thing. They're not out of stock. They're available. So just getting on to the 2 tips that I want to share with you. The first has to do with speakers. Don't be afraid to experiment where to put your speakers in your room, because I mean, this is a very small listening room. So you can see here, I've got a shelf here, a load of records, there's another shelf there with a load of books. It's a small listening room, small listening space, and in all truth, stand mounted speakers are probably they're probably the wrong speakers for this room. However, I've kind of experimented with where to put them, and one thing that I hadn't done was made sure that each speaker is kind of equidistant from the side wall, and that's a change I made. I just this speaker here was further out from the wall than the right hand speaker, so I just moved it in by about 10 or 15 centimeters, and you would not believe the difference that has made. Well, to my ears anyway. It's just kind of open, the sound has opened up, the sound's opened up, it just seems to be able to breathe now, the music's able to breathe, and it just sounds better. Everything's just kind of sounds better, and it makes more sense as a musical whole, if you like. So don't be afraid to experiment, not just where you put your speakers, but also how far they're towed in. As you can see, I'm sitting in the listening position now, and they're quite towed in, but not all the way towards me, because I find that affects the soundstage. So I can't believe that just by moving them away from the wall by 10-15 centimeters, now they're kind of the same distance away from each wall. It's just made all the difference. And the other thing that I want to mention to you, if you have a turntable with a motor that is separate to the chassis, like this one, I'll move my finger. This motor is separate to the chassis. It sits on the Perspex shelf that I have here, which is on top of my my hi-fi rack. And it's there because the turntable wouldn't fit on the hi-fi, the top shelf of the hi-fi rack, so hence the Perspex shelf. But you'll notice that the feet also sit on the Perspex shelf. So there is a chance that you can get some motor noise, even though it's separate to the plinth. You can still get motor noise because they're sitting on the same surface. And I was getting a very slight hum, and I couldn't figure out what it was, but it was there. Only there when I turned on or rather turned on the motor and the platter was turning, and I put the cartridge on the vinyl, and it would pick up this very low level hum. And I just thought, I don't know what that is, I'm just going to have to live with it, but it doesn't bother me particularly. But lo and behold, it was the motor. And I know this because I put the motor under, instead of having it on its normal feet, I put these Sorbothane feet under it. Now these are quite squishy. They're quite squishy, they're not very big. And fortunately, as luck would have it, they're almost the same height as the existing feet, but just a little bit higher. So it just raises those feet off the perspex by about 1 or 2 mil, which is fine for the belt. The belt doesn't get affected, it's still able to do its job properly. And would you believe that hum has completely disappeared? So now when the cartridge goes onto the vinyl, it is dead silent. I mean, dead silent. So there you go, another little tip. If you have a motor that sits on the same surface as your turntable, try it. These are not expensive. You pick these up for, I don't know, tenner, 10 quid, $10, something like that. Probably get them from Amazon, or I'm sure a hi-fi shop would do them. I've got big ones here. The ones under there are much bigger. Look, I'll show you. See how much bigger they are. They're enormous. But these ones have done the job. So yeah, try it, because it might just, it just helps eliminate any noise in the signal relay, in the signal path, in the signal circuit, if you like. And don't forget that your cartridge, if there's any noise, your cartridge will pick it up, and your whole amplifier stage amplifies it. So it will be, it will be something you can hear. I could just about hear this hum, and now it's gone. So I'm absolutely delighted. So yeah, just think about where you put your speakers. Maybe think about isolating your motor. If it stands on the same surface as your record player, you won't regret it, and everything sounds so much better. I'm enjoying my records more than ever. So, it's heaven, absolute heaven. Anyway, that's enough from me. Thanks for watching, and keep spinning those records.